Last week, I talked a little bit about the secret sauce of good management, good leadership. I talked about the importance of trust, the importance of consistency, the importance of transparency. But I left something out of the mix. And it's too important to go into with all those other things. It's actually predicated on those other things. It is the biggest difference between a high-performing team and all of the other teams, and you're probably scared to death of it. It's accountability. And I'm going to tell you right now why you need more of it in your sales organization if you want to perform better. Number one, your top reps want to be held accountable. They need to be held accountable because they know they perform better when they're held accountable. Now, as a leader, you're probably terrified of accountability because you don't want to be labeled a micromanager. And look, I've talked about this before. I've written about this before. There's a big difference between accountability and micromanagement. And that difference is support. A micromanager sits in their ivory tower and tells you what you should be doing and asks you why it wasn't done yesterday. Someone who's an accountability partner is there to see you succeed. They want to see you succeed, and they're willing to give you what is necessary in order for you to succeed. Which type of a leader do you want to work for? Which type of leader do you want to be? Your reps perform better when they're held accountable, the same way you lose more weight when you hire a trainer, and that when you've got a workout buddy or someone else, to go on the weight loss journey with, as I'm thinking about losing my own COVID-10. Those things make you perform better. You know someone's looking out for you. And I remember back in the day when I had to perform for my manager, when I had to provide him with a list of my activity for the week, sometimes, most times, I didn't like to do that. But I also knew that if I wasn't doing that, I probably let more than a handful of deals fall through the cracks if it weren't for knowing that I had to be accountable for the deals I was working on a regular basis. Everything's better with a buddy, right? Think about it. What are you for your team? One of the most underrated aspects of accountability is number two. It provides a common language for your team to speak. We've all been on those sales calls. Heck, I've been that guy before where I've got a 30-minute meeting to go through my pipeline with my manager. Things aren't looking so good right now, and maybe I need to talk my way through these next 30 minutes so that we can say a lot of things but really not talk about much. You ever been there before? How many of your reps are there right now? When you talk about things when you talk about just the results, when you start with the results, now all of a sudden people know that is the primary focus of the meeting. They leave all that stuff behind them and they come to that meeting prepared. What does that do? Since they know they have to come to that meeting prepared, since they know that they can't BS their way through their meeting, they're going to have something worth talking about. It's really, really important. And everybody then gets on the same page. When you know what the terms of your meeting are going to be, when you know what the terms of your agreement of being on this team are going to be, everybody gets on the same page, and organizations work much better when everybody's on the same page. This is really important when it comes to number three. The really tough conversations all of a sudden have context. You're speaking the same language. You've had the same priorities all along. It's established that you're there for each other. You're supporting one another. And because you have everything you need, you should be delivering what you agreed to deliver. So now when Bill's not doing so well, you can have a candid conversation with Bill and say, hey, look, I want to see you succeed. I want you to do well. I know you can do well. I believe I'm giving you everything that you need. If you need something else, let me know. I'm happy to support you. But right now, something's getting in your way. I need to figure out what that is. And in reality, what you're telling Bill is that if there is something that can't be removed, maybe Bill needs to be removed. Maybe Bill needs to go elsewhere. Nobody likes having those conversations, particularly when they feel attacked, particularly when you feel like you're the attacker. But if the terms of the agreement, if the terms of being on this team, if the common language that is being spoken is one that is results-oriented and only results-oriented, it's hard to deny whether or not the results are there. And that makes the conversation maybe, listen, they're never easy, but maybe you can come together a little more objectively and talk about what's really important. I believe selling is a people business. I believe a sales team functions best when there's a familial aspect to it. Nobody wants to treat their brother, sister, nephew, niece, badly. But when we have to talk about what is good for the family, what is good for the company, we all need to be on the same page. And those tough conversations, the ones you're probably avoiding right now, are the leaders who can have those conversations and execute the right way. As the result of those conversations, they lead high-performing teams. The leaders who are afraid to have those conversations tend to lead mediocre teams. They tend to not be great leaders. Give yourself the space. Enable yourself to have the conversations that you know you need to have in order to get the most out of your team, which is your primary job as a leader. Accountability is the Rosetta Stone to leadership. It is the translation key that makes all of those things possible. And just because you're afraid of it doesn't mean that it doesn't need to be done. You need to consider this. You need to take these steps so that you can do your job, which is leading your team to your best abilities so that they can maximize their own potential and their own abilities. The results require that you do that. Are you holding yourself accountable to those?